unlikely. SLBMs, which can move with stealth, greatly lessen detectability virtually anywhere in the world, give a nation a second strike capability, i.e., after absorbing a first strike. Before the advent of the SLBM, thinkers feared that a nation might be tempted to initiate a first strike if it felt confident that such a strike would incapacitate the nuclear arsenal of its enemy, making retaliation impossible. With the advent of SLBMs, no nation could be certain that a first strike would incapacitate its enemy's entire nuclear arsenal. To the contrary, it would have to fear a near certain retaliatory second strike from SLBMs. Thus, a first strike was a much less feasible, or desirable, option, and a deliberately initiated nuclear war was thought to be less likely to start. However, it was soon realized that submarines could approach enemy coastlines undetected and decrease its warning time. The time between detection of the missile launch and the impact of the missile, from as much as half an hour to possibly under 3 minutes. This effect was especially significant to the United. FEMA estimated primary counterforce targets for Soviet ICBMs in 1990. The resulting fallout is indicated with the darkest considered as lethal to lesser fallout yellow zones. 62 states, Britain and China, whose capitals of Washington, D.C., London, and Beijing all lay within 100 miles, 160 kilometers, of their coasts. Moscow was much more secure from this type of threat, due to its considerable distance from the sea. This greatly increased the credibility of a surprise first strike by one faction and, theoretically, made it possible to knock out or disrupt the chain of command of a target nation before any counter-strike could be ordered, known as a decapitation strike. It strengthened the notion that a nuclear war could possibly be won, resulting not only in greatly increased tensions and increasing calls for failed deadly control systems, but also in a dramatic increase in military spending. These submarines and their missile systems were very expensive, and one fully equipped nuclear-powered and nuclear-armed missile submarine could cost more than the entire GNP of a developing country. 63. It was also calculated, however, that the greatest cost came in the development of both sea and land-based anti-submarine defenses and in improving and strengthening the chain of command, and as a result, military spending skyrocketed. South Africa developed a nuclear weapon capability during the 1970s and early 1980s. It was operational for a brief period before being dismantled in the early 1990s. 64. According to the 1980 United Nations Report General and Complete Disarmament, Comprehensive Study on Nuclear Weapons, report of the Secretary General, it was estimated that there were a total of about 40,000 nuclear warheads in existence at that time, with a potential combined explosive yield of approximately 13,000 megatons. By comparison, the largest volcanic eruption in recorded history, when the volcano Mount Tambora erupted in 1815, turning 1816 into the year without a summer due to the levels of global dimming sulfate aerosols and ash expelled. It exploded with a force of roughly 33 billion tons of TNT, or 33,000 megatons of TNT. This is about 2.2 million Hiroshima bombs. 65. And ejected 175 km 342 cu of mostly rock /TIFRA. 66. That included 120 million tons of sulfur dioxide as an upper estimate. 67. A larger eruption, approximately 74,000 years ago, in Mount Toba produced 2,800 km 670 cu of TIFRA, forming Lake Toba. 68, and produced an estimated 6,000 million tons, 6.6109 short tons, of sulfur dioxide. 69, 70. The explosive energy of the eruption may have been as high as equivalent to 20 million megatons. Mount of TNT, 71, while the asteroid created Chicxulub impact, that is connected with the extinction of the dinosaurs, corresponds to at least 70 million amount of energy, which is roughly 7,000 times the maximum arsenal of the US and Soviet Union. 71. However, comparisons with supervolcanoes are more misleading than helpful due to the different aerosols released, the likely airburst fusing height of nuclear weapons, and the globally scattered location of these potential nuclear detonations, all being in contrast to the singular and subterranean nature of a supervolcano's eruption. 3. Moreover, assuming the entire world's stockpile of weapons were grouped together, it would be difficult, due to the nuclear fratricide effect, to ensure the individual weapons would go off all at once. Nonetheless, many people believe that a full-scale nuclear war would result, through the nuclear winter effect, in the extinction of the human species, though not all analysts agree on the assumptions that underpin these nuclear winter models. 4. Protest against the deployment of Pershing-2 missiles in Europe. Bonn, West Germany, 1981. On the 26th of September, 1983, a Soviet early warning station under the command of Stanislav Petrov falsely detected 5 inbound intercontinental ballistic missiles from the US. Petrov correctly assessed the situation as a false alarm, and hence did not report his finding to his superiors. It is quite possible that his actions prevented World War III, as the Soviet policy at that time was immediate nuclear response upon discovering inbound ballistic missiles. 72. The world came unusually close to nuclear war in November 1983 when the Soviet Union thought that the NATO military exercise Eagle Archer 83 was a ruse or cover-up to begin a nuclear first strike. The Soviets responded by raising readiness and preparing their nuclear arsenal for immediate use. Soviet fears of an attack ceased once the exercise concluded without incident. Post-Cold War. Although the dissolution of the Soviet Union ended the Cold War and greatly reduced tensions between the United States and the Russian Federation, the Soviet Union's formal successor state, both countries remained in a nuclear standoff due to the continuing presence of a very large number of deliverable nuclear warheads on both sides. Additionally, the end of the Cold War led the United States to become increasingly concerned with the development of nuclear technology by other nations outside of the former Soviet Union. In 1995, a branch of the U.S. Strategic Command produced an outline of forward-thinking strategies in the document Essentials of Post-Cold War Deterrence. In 1995, a Black Grant-sounding rocket launched from the Andia Space Center caused a high alert in Russia, known as the Norwegian rocket incident. The Russians thought it might be a nuclear missile launched from an American submarine. 73. 74. In 1996, a Russian continuity of government facility, Kovinsky Mountain, which is believed to be a counterpart to the US Cheyenne Mountain complex, was completed. 75. It was designed to resist US Earth-penetrating nuclear warheads. 75. And is believed to host the Russian Strategic Rocket Forces Volta Command Post, a post for the General Staff built to compensate for the vulnerability of older Soviet era command posts in the Moscow region. In spite of this, the primary command posts for the Strategic Rocket Forces remains Kuntsevo in Moscow, and the secondary is the Kovinsky Mountain in the Ural Mountains. The timing of the Kovinsky facility's completion date is regarded as one explanation for U.S. interest in a new nuclear bunker-buster Earth-penetrating warhead and the declaration of the deployment of the B-61 Mod 11 in 1997. Kovinsky is protected by about 1,000 feet of granite. As a consequence of the 11th of September attacks, American forces immediately increased their readiness to the highest level in 28 years, closing the blast doors of the NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain Operations Center for the first time due to a non-exercise event. But unlike similar increases during the Cold War, Russia immediately decided to stunt down a large military exercise in the Arctic region, in order to minimize the risk of incidents, rather than following suit. 76. The former chair of the United Nations Disarmament Committee stated that there are more than 16,000 strategic and tactical nuclear weapons ready for deployment and another 14,000 in storage, with the U.S. having nearly 7,000 ready for use and 3,000 in storage, and Russia having about 8,500 ready for use and 11,000 in storage. In addition, China is thought to possess about 400 nuclear weapons, Britain about 200, France about 350, India about 80-100, and Pakistan 100-110. North Korea is confirmed as having nuclear. UN vote on adoption of the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons on 7 July 2017. Yes/no did not vote weapons, though it is not known how many, with most estimates between 1 and 10. Israel is also widely believed to possess usable nuclear weapons. NATO has stationed about 480 American nuclear weapons in Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Germany and Turkey, and several other nations are thought to be in pursuit of an arsenal of their own. 77. Pakistan's nuclear policy was significantly affected by the 1965 war with India. 78. The 1971 war and India's nuclear program played a role in Pakistan's decision to go nuclear. 79. India and Pakistan both decided not to participate in the NPT. 80. Pakistan's nuclear policy became fixated on India because India refused to join the NPT and remained open to nuclear weapons. 81. Impetus by Indian actions spurred Pakistan's nuclear research. 82. After nuclear weapons construction was started by President Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's command, the chair of Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission Usmani quit in objection. 83. The 1999 war between Pakistan and India occurred after both acquired nuclear weapons. 84. It is believed by some that nuclear weapons are the reason a big war has not broken out in the subcontinent. 85. India and Pakistan still have a risk of nuclear conflict on the issue of war over Kashmir. Nuclear capability deliverable BC were claimed by Pakistan in 2012. 86. The aim was to achieve a minimum credible deterrence. 87. Pakistan's nuclear program culminated in the tests at Shigai. 88. One of the aims of Pakistan's programs is fending off potential annexation and maintaining independence. 89. A key development in nuclear warfare throughout the 2000s and early 2010s is the proliferation of nuclear weapons to the developing world, with India and Pakistan both publicly testing several nuclear devices and North Korea conducting an underground nuclear test on the 9th of October 2006. The U.S. Geological Survey measured a 4.2 magnitude earthquake in the area where the North Korean test is said to have occurred. A further test was announced by the North Korean government on the 25th of May 2009. 90. Iran, meanwhile, has embarked on a nuclear program which, while officially for civilian purposes, has come under close scrutiny by the United Nations and many individual states. Recent studies undertaken by the CIA cite the enduring India-Pakistan conflict as the one flashpoint most likely to escalate into a nuclear war. During the Kargil War in 1999, Pakistan came close to using its nuclear weapons in case the conventional military situation underwent further deterioration. 91. Pakistan's foreign minister had even warned that it would use any weapon in our arsenal, hinting at a nuclear strike against India. 92. The statement was condemned by the international community, with Pakistan denying it later on. This conflict remains the only war, of any sort, between two declared nuclear powers. The 2001 to 2002 India-Pakistan standoff again stoked fears of nuclear war between the two countries. Despite these very serious and relatively recent threats, relations between India and Pakistan have been improving somewhat over the last few years. However, with the 26th of November, 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, tensions again worsened. External